Welcome to DevOps Toolkit, the channel where we run around screaming, "It's all over! We are doomed! Abandon the ship! Nothing can prevent the disaster!" We all want to be safe. That's why we create backups. We want to know that our systems will survive no matter what happens. The feeling of safety is very, very important. And I need to apologize in advance for what I am about to say. Okay? You are not safe. If the disaster happens, you might not be able to survive it. And here's why. Backups alone are not enough, especially if it's only one type of a backup. When the day of reckoning comes, you will not be saved. Let me prove that to you. I already have an application running in my cluster. It's a stateless app that uses PostgreSQL to store data. There is a deployment of the app and a deployment of Atlas that manages PostgreSQL schemas. There is a persistent volume that contains data from the database. There are also custom resources clusters and Atlas schemas. Those are not special either. Cluster resources come from CMPG that is designed to run PostgreSQL in a cloud-native way. Atlas schema is a custom resource from the Atlas operator that, as we mentioned earlier, is in charge of managing database schemas. By the way, if you're not familiar with CMPG and the Atlas operator, you might want to check out those videos over there. There is nothing truly special with those resources. They are still a very, very simple example. It's so simple that I won't even dive into the details. So far, I don't see a problem. Velero can handle those without any issues, right? Well, wrong. But we'll get to that soon. Now, to make it just marginally more complex situation, I have a Crossplane claim running in my cluster. Here it goes. That claim represents a database server that consists of a bunch of other resources. Still, there is nothing alarming over there. There is still no reason to think that we are not safe with cluster backups created with, let's say, Velero, right? Well, wrong. Still wrong. But we'll get to that. We are very fortunate that Joe is working with us. He has a special skill. He is clairvoyant. He can see the future and he is always right. He's the one who predicted the fall of a blockchain, and now he's predicting that our cluster is about to get busted. That's why Joe is on our payroll. He can tell us when a cluster is going to go down. I mean, most of the time because he's messing it up. Let's make a backup while we still can. Now, let's say that a new cluster was auto-magically created and that we would like to restore the backup in hopes that everything will continue working on that new cluster as if nothing happened to the old one. If we accomplish that, we can avoid firing Joe for messing it up again. Let's do it. Let's restore the pre-disaster backup, or to be more precise, whatever we have in that backup associated with the A-team namespace. Okay, everything should be working, right? If you take a look at the resources in that namespace, everything seems to be peachy. Did it restore persistent volumes with data as well? It indeed did. Well done, Velero. You're amazing. How about custom resources like CMPG clusters and Atlas schemas? Fuck. It's not working. Let's see what's wrong. The problem is in Kubernetes itself. We often have resources owned by some other resources. A deployment creates a replica set which creates pods. As a result, a pod is owned by a replica set which is owned by a deployment. Now, in some cases that is, and in others that isn't a problem when backups are concerned. In this case, we do have a problem. When we restored the backup, among other resources, we restored silly demo R service as well as the CMPG cluster resource. As a result, that cluster resource did not create that service but saw that it already exists but that it is not owned by it. The end result is that it is failing. One solution would be to apply filters to the backup restore operation. We could have, for example, said that we do not want to restore services, but that would not work either because there are other services in that namespace that are not created by other resources and hence not owned by them. We could have had even more elaborated filters that would exclude services with specific labels, but in those cases we would start facing very complex setups with potentially infinite number of filters. On top of all that, the resources we restored with Velero are likely not up to date. They're not resources in the state they were before the crash. but resources in the state at the time we created the last backup. Even if we did manage to solve the filtering conundrum and we would start making backups much more frequently, we're still faced with a potential issue with data. Here's the question. Do we trust Velero alone to backup database data? I think we shouldn't. Databases have elaborated tools to backup data that are much safer than more generic backups like Velero. If we rely on Velero for data, there is a chance that backups of database data will be corrupted or incomplete. On top of that, data restoration needs to be coordinated with the initialization of database servers. Now, most of those problems can be solved with Velero, but are likely already solved in database operators. CMPG spec, for example, already has entries that allow us to specify data required to backup and restore its data safely and without the need for any special operations. The problem, however, is that we did not specify that we want CMPG to create and restore backups, so we cannot leverage it in the current situation since the cluster where PostgreSQL was running is now dead, or to be more precise, we're pretending it's dead. All in all, Velero poses problems when restoring Kubernetes resources as well as when working with database data. If that would be the only tool we have at our disposal, we might try to solve those, but that's not the case. We have alternatives, and for those two problems, they are GitOps and database-specific backups. We won't be able to demonstrate the latter, since we did not create CMPG backup while we still could, but we certainly can switch to GitOps. But before we do that, let me give you an advance warning. GitOps might not solve our issues either. Let's start over and delete the namespace with the resources we restored. Assuming the databases are creating their own data backups, which are restored automatically whenever we spin them up, we are left with the issue of backups for Kubernetes resources not being up to date and causing potential problems like those with ownership we saw earlier. Let's see whether we can solve that one with GitOps. Here's an Argo CD application definition. Typically, we would be using app of apps model where a single Argo CD application would synchronize everything in a cluster. Today, however, I want to keep it simple, so we have an application that will synchronize everything in the app overlays full directory of the Velero demo repo. Instead of restoring a backup, we can just apply that resource and let Argo CD synchronize whatever is in that repo into the new cluster. So let's apply it and wait for a while for Argo CD to do the work. A while later, we can retrieve all Kubernetes core resources and persistent volumes and CMPG clusters and Atlas schemas. This time, everything seemed to be working correctly, with the assumption that we did add backups to CMPG using its own backup and restore mechanism. However, everything is working is only an illusion. Everything is working in such a simple setup when we are looking only at a single application. If we instructed Argo CD to synchronize everything that should be running in that cluster at once, it would almost certainly fail. Argo CD assumes that we do things in certain order, and that order is specified through sync waves. Without them, it would try to synchronize something that depends on something else, fail to do so, and stop the process, resulting in only a fraction of the resources that should be running in that cluster. Now, I will not go deeper into the issues with Argo CD synchronization since I already did that in that video over there. Just watch it. Still, Argo CD synchronization issues can be solved with a lot of work. Yet, that is what we are trying to avoid in the first place. So, Velero can restore all resources if we spend the time defining all the filters. And Argo CD can do the same if we define an infinite number of sync waves. Both are likely not going to work on the new cluster in the first attempt, but if we practice a lot and we are persistent enough, we might get there with both. Argo CD, however, has an advantage over backups. Its source of the desired state is most likely up to date. If we are practicing GitOps, we always commit changes to the desired state to Git. So, Git always has the latest desired state. Backups, on the other hand, make periodic snapshots of the actual state. As a result, GitOps synchronization into a new cluster is more likely to result in that cluster being as close as it can be to the old one that was destroyed, assuming the data is backed up by whichever database we're using. However, even if we ignore the issue with Argo CD sync waves and we do restore all the resources from Git, it will still not work. Let me demonstrate that through Crossplane. I already have a claim in my cluster which expanded into a bunch of managed resources. To be more precise, I have a Crossplane claim in the old cluster that we are pretending to be destroyed. Still, let's stop pretending for a second that it is not running and take a look at it. Everything seemed to be working well, because it is working. If that cluster was destroyed, we could have restored those resources using Argo CD, right? Wrong. Again, one thing we might easily overlook are mutations. Almost all Kubernetes resources mutate over time. Their specs are modified by the scheduler. Their statuses are updated and events are generated. Some of those mutations are not important and the resources will behave correctly even if we apply those same resources into a new cluster without those specific mutations. That's what we do with Argo CD, and many people do not understand that the desired state stored in Git is not the same as the actual state in a cluster. Still, we can ignore many of those mutations, but not all. Here's an example. Now, before we continue, let me stress that the example comes from Crossplane, but we can observe issues that originate from mutations in many others. Let's, for example, take a look at the external name annotation. That annotation was not defined as the desired state. We won't find it in Git. It was added by the controller. While mutations often do not matter, this one does, in some cases. That specific resource manages a VPC in AWS. Since AWS auto-generates IDs of some, but not all, its resources, Crossplane mutated that resource by, among other things, injecting that label. Through it, Crossplane is able to establish the relation between that resource and the route in AWS and do whatever needs to be done. So, here's the question. What would happen if we instruct Argo CD to synchronize the claim from Git into the new cluster? Since that annotation is added at runtime and is part of the desired state in Git, Argo CD would create that resource without it. Crossplane, on the other hand, would not be able to find that route in AWS and it would create a new one. That's probably not what we wanted. The intention should be for Crossplane in the new cluster to continue managing that specific route. So, in that specific scenario, Argo CD is not an option, at least not right away. So we are forced to go back to Velero, since some of the resources are cluster scoped, while others are in a specific namespace. We'll restore two parts of the backup. We will restore all the resources with the label crossplane.io/claim name mydb and all those inside the namespace infra. Let's double check that worked by retrieving all Crossplane managed resources. It's working, and the fact that all the resources became ready right away signals that Crossplane correctly identified the resources it should manage through the external name annotation. Otherwise, some of them would not be ready since it takes a while to create some of those resources in AWS. Now we should be able to point Argo CD to the Git repo where the desired state of that claim is stored. Argo CD would not do anything right away since the actual state is the same as the desired state. However, the future updates to the desired state will be synced into the cluster. So, what did we learn today? The main outcome of today's exercises is depression, knowing that if a disaster occurs, there is no single tool, or maybe even a combination of tools that will enable us to recover easily. There is no simple and fast disaster recovery, especially if we wait for the disaster to happen to validate whether our processes even work. If we want to take disaster recovery seriously, we have to practice it all the time, and the best way to do that is to enforce destruction of clusters. My recommendation is to never upgrade clusters, but to always create new ones when we want to jump to the next Kubernetes release. If we do that, we will force ourselves to practice disaster recovery a couple of times a year, given that's the cadence of Kubernetes releases. It will be painful, very painful at first, but over time we might manage to strike the right balance between Kubernetes backups, database-specific backups, GitOps, and whatever else we might be using. The problem is that it will never end. Even if we do manage to get to the point that we can reliably restore a cluster with everything in it, the situation will change. New applications are added, existing resources are evolving, and so on and so forth. Disaster recovery is a practice that needs to be exercised often if we want to be sure it is actually working. As for the tools, I recommend taking database backups using database-specific processes to create and restore them. Use Velero for resources that contain mutations that are critical yet missing from the desired state. Use Argo CD for all the other resources and make sure that you set up Argo CD or Flux in a way that resources are synced no matter the current state of the cluster. Disaster recovery is painful and it never gets easy. The best we can do is make sure it is reliable. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Cheers.